The anime begins with our protagonist Dazai Osamu, aka Sensei, who is on a date. The two prepared to toss themselves into a powerful river, and they tie themselves to each other, so they can be together forever. However, in a cruel twist of fate, the evil Track-kun comes out of nowhere to drive through the forest and take them both out. Moments later, our protagonist Sensei wakes up in a shock to see what heaven looks like. A woman explains that this is not heaven, and she is a guide to those that descend upon this world. Her name is Annette, and she reveals that Sensei was chosen and transported to this new world. A fearsome dragon flies by as the net explains that this world is shrouded in darkness, and Sensei was chosen to be a hero who brings life to this world. Sensei doesn't think of himself as a hero at all though. He was just some guy trying to commit double unalive with his girlfriend and has now been brought to a strange world. Annette prepares to give him an inspiring speech to make him want to become a hero, but she is shocked when Sensei does his thing and overdoses on some sedation pills. Annette purifies the toxins from his body, but Sensei says that she's actually bothering him. Annette demands for Sensei to become a hero to fulfill his great mission of saving this world, but Sensei is just looking for a place to stop living. Sensei keeps chowing down on his pills, but Annette reminds him that he is the chosen one. Sensei points out that he never decided to be chosen, but Annette explains that Track-kun is actually an otherworld selection truck. Among the many people in Sensei's old world living unhappy lives, only those struck by otherworld Track-kun get to redo their lives in this world. This is actually a world transfer service that her world provides. Being hit by Track-kun means that he was unhappy with his life, so he was granted a chance in this world. Sensei finishes up taking some more pills, and he angrily points out that the stupid truck interfere with the happiest moment of his life, his double unalive. He points out that they don't have the right to decide who's unhappy, but from her point of view, he was saved from a life so unhappy that he was going to end it all. Ultimately, Annette decides that his complaining doesn't matter because Sensei will surely change his mind when he sees his stats. Without exception, every human brought to her world is granted the ability to wield superhuman powers. However, she is shocked to find that Sensei is insanely weak. Not only does he only have one hit point, he is also poisoned even after she detoxified him. Annette refuses to believe that someone could be this weak, so she desperately searches to see if Sensei has some kind of special skill or exceptional ability. She is horrified to find that he has absolutely nothing, and she has never seen such a weak otherworlder. The very sick-looking Sensei goes to leave, but Annette stops him, and finally agrees that he must have been brought to this world by mistake. She determines that he won't be able to survive in this world, and she's shocked that Sensei finally shows some confidence, and he declares what she just said sounds a lot more like what his life is really about. Sensei explains that he is branded a failure no matter what world he lives in. Annette apologizes once again for the mistake and asks him to stay with her for a while. This world is incredibly dangerous and filled with monsters, so his life will surely end the second he steps outside. She is done though when Sensei tells her not to worry because he's looking for his final resting place anyway. The reason why Annette is so shocked is because Sensei is very different than all the others. Annette used to take pride in guiding otherworlders, and meeting them excited her. However, she started to realize how pretentious and arrogant they were. Soon she felt like her job was simply to flatter heroes over and over again, so she closed off her heart. However, her life has been turned upside down as Sensei is totally different. Sensei prepares to enter the dangerous new world, but Annette begs him to at least pick a profession first. Sensei declares that he doesn't need to pick a profession because he's a born writer, and he says goodbye to the girl that he says has beautiful ears. As he leaves, Annette dramatically declares that she finally understands. The thing she has been waiting for was for this man to enter her life. Outside, Sensei realizes that he can't read the writing in this world, but he can tell that there won't be any cafes for him to go to. Just then a voice pops into his head and announces that Sensei has earned 5 experience points for discovering a new area. Sensei wishes the voice would stop as he suffers from migraines, but an even louder voice announces that Sensei has risen to level 2. Just then a tree collapses and the girl screams as she is attacked by a monster. She begs Sensei to help her because he's an adventurer, but Sensei just stares at her and thinks about how a lot of people have really shaped ears in this world. She keeps begging for his help, but does he just ask for her permission to write a novel about her? Sensei eventually realizes that she wants him to save her, so he tells her to give him a moment. Sensei makes a half-hearted attempt to reach out to her, but ultimately declares that he can't reach her. She asks him to use a sword or a spell or something, but the monster just ends up taking a hold of Sensei as well. Sensei simply says that he can't breathe, and the girl explains that the tree is stealing their life force. They only have a few more minutes before their lives end, but she is shocked when Sensei says that that's good news. Sensei finds delight in his final moments and says goodbye to the world. The girl begs him not to give up, but Sensei is completely unresponsive. She is stunned that her life will end in such a strange way, but she's even more surprised when the tree is covered in darkness and it explodes. Sensei is shockingly still alive, much to his disappointment and the voice and that Sensei inflicted 300 damage with his poison. The girl is absolutely stunned as this great adventure before her eliminated the monster by making him absorb his poison instead of his life force. Sensei rises to level 3 and the girl wonders if he poisons himself. She then wonders why he pretends to be weak when he's pretty strong, but he explains that this just always happens to him. He wants to stop existing, but somehow he ends up surviving. He has tried to stop living 5 times but has never gone right once. The girl has no clue why he's so depressed, but she is grateful that he saved her life, so she thanks him. She offers to take him to her place to rest, and he introduces himself when Sensei touches her hand though. He is reminded of his girlfriend Sacchan and he wonders if she came to this world too. The girl then angrily tells him that her name isn't Sacchan. She tries to tell him her real name, but Sensei is already in the clouds thinking about Sacchan. The girl gets frustrated as he ignores her, but he has a good reason. Sensei has just found a reason to live in this new world. He goes over his last memory with his girlfriend and declares that he will find Sacchan wherever she is in this world. His declaration isn't exactly what it seems, as he wants to find her, so they can commit double live again. Back with Annette, she prays to the god of her world so that Sensei can be protected. She also wishes to meet him again one day and she gets her wish as Sensei returns. She couldn't be happier to see him, but she is stunned when his new cat girlfriend is there too. Annette can't believe that he already has a girl companion, but she composes herself as Sensei has a question. He wants to know if Annette has met a girl named Sacchan, and Annette is horrified to hear that a third woman is involved. Sensei leaves as Annette had no information about Sacchan, but the cat girl is sure that he will find her. She wants to stop by the castle town of Roth before going to her house, but she is shocked when Annette appears to stop her from holding hands with Sensei. Annette thinks it's shameless behavior, but the cat girl just wants to know why Annette came with them. Annette is too shy to answer, so the cat girl realizes that she must be in love with Sensei. Of course, Annette denies it and simply declares that it's her job to protect the weak otherworlder. Him being otherworlder makes the cat girl realize that that is why Sensei is so strong, but Annette points out that he's actually really weak. The two argue about how weak he is, but the cat girl reveals that Sensei defeated the monster and saved her life. Annette is horrified because saving her life means that they have gotten close, and she angrily calls the girl a thieving cat. Just then Sensei announces that he found something wonderful. He calls it a very comfortable bed, but it's actually a coffin, and he tells the girls to wake him up when they arrive at the town. Sensei says goodnight to Annette and Tama, but the cat girl angrily points out that that isn't her name. Sensei is already fast asleep though, and Annette sheepishly points out that Sensei called her the right name. Annette then takes on the task of dragging Sensei and his coffin, but Tama wonders if that's really her job as a clergy person. The story continues. We see Tama gets tired of dragging Sensei in his coffin. She demands that he get out and walk, but there's no response from him. The girls begin to wonder if he's even alive, but his stats screen reveals that he's just resting. Annette is ready to continue, but the cat must remind her that her name isn't Tama. Inside his coffin, Sensei remembers his girlfriend again and promises to find her, so they can double unalive. A while later, the girls wake Sensei up as they have arrived at the castle town of Roth. Sensei is amazed by this new world, and his group goes to meet with King Thomas and Princess Charlotte. Thomas allows them to stay the night in his castle after their long journey, so the girls think he's a very generous king. Thomas, however, only has one condition. He loves hearing stories from travelers, so he would like with Sensei to share one pleasant memory from his travels. Sensei offers to tell him what it feels like to sleep in a coffin, but this just sounds like a threat to the king. The king changes his mind and instead wants to advise on something. Thomas brings in a valiant warrior named Gomez and menstrual named Otto. He explains that due to the influence of the Dark Lord, monster activity has increased recently. The king is growing too old to deal with this, so he has decided that one of these two guys will become Princess Charlotte's husband and the next king. Charlotte is having a hard time choosing, so the king has to travel theirs for advice. The king is shocked though when Sensei has no clue what to say. This is a life-changing decision for Charlotte, so Sensei doesn't think they should be asking for advice from travelers that just arrived. Sensei boldly declares that Thomas is a horrible tyrant and he is unfit to be a king. The king is stunned as Sensei leaves, and Sensei thinks about how he actually had no right to say that stuff since he himself is unfit to live in this world. The girls apologize to the king profusely, and they explain that Sensei is another worlder. The king understands, and Charlotte stares at Sensei. That night Annette noticed that Sensei isn't sleeping, but he explains that he never sleeps well. Annette finally musters up the courage to ask about his girlfriend Sacchan, but she becomes furious when she finds Tama sleeping in his bed. Tama explains that she was just cold and they start arguing, so Sensei he just leaves. Outside, Sensei finds the princess and they admire the beautiful lake. Sensei admires it for a different reason though. As he wants to pull himself into it, Charlotte can't believe that his life is so troubled that he wants to end it, but Sensei can tell that her life seems to be more trouble than his. Charlotte can't deny it because she's having a really difficult time choosing. Her husband Gomez just arrived at the castle recently, but he has already become the most dependable soldier they have. Her father has a lot of faith in his strength, so Charlotte thinks she should choose him because of that. Otto, on the other hand, is her childhood friend. Whenever she fell down, Otto wrote songs and sings them to her. Charlotte wonders what she should do, so Sensei points out that she is truly a kind person unlike him. Sensei's life has been a continuous series of troubles and he has attempted to unalive himself numerous times. Charlotte obviously cares about her father a lot, but Sensei has done nothing but inconvenience his family greatly. Even through all that though, Sensei has never once asked anyone else to choose how he should live his life for him. Charlotte is shocked by his statement and he goes on to say that she should decide for herself and what she will do. As he leaves, Sensei tells her to ask herself what it is that she truly wants. The next day, King Thomas revealed that the princess has chosen who she wants to be her husband and he wants the travelers to act as witnesses. Annette thinks that she will choose Gomez for the betterment of the kingdom, but Tama thinks Charlotte and Otto are better match. The king instructs his daughter to stand before the man she chooses, so Charlotte steps forward. Charlotte has given a lot of thought to her decision and she shocks everyone when she decides to go completely off path, and she announces that she will commit double unalive with Sensei. Everyone's jaws drop and Annette even passes on from the shock. Charlotte explains that she did a lot of thinking after she spoke with Sensei. She realized that while Otto did sing for her every time she was sad, he also would come when she didn't feel sad. He was even making a ruckus last night. Charlotte has concluded that Otto simply wants to perform his newest songs to someone. Her reason for not wanting to marry Gomez is a lot simpler though, and it's because he smells. King Thomas calls her a fool and begs her to choose one of the other guys, but she finally stands up for herself and tells the king that he is the fool for trying to make her marry someone she doesn't want to. It turns out that she never wanted to get married in the first place, but nobody took her feelings into consideration. The only one who actually cared about her opinion was Sensei, and Sensei now understand what she wants to commit double unalive with him. Just then Gomez gets really angry about being told that he smells, so he makes fun of Charlotte's nose and terrifies everyone when he begins to transform. After transforming, Gomez reveals that he's the servant of the Dark Lord, and he intended to acquire the kingdom by becoming a king, so he could offer it to the Dark Lord. He never thought that the princess would be able to see through his disguise, but the princess actually didn't figure it out. Gomez just really smells bad. Gomez has heard enough and decides to just end everyone's lives. Tama desperately tries to wake Annette up to help fight the demon, but it's no use, so the king's guard's going to attack. Gomez easily knocks them back though, and Tama must rescue Annette from being crushed. Tama launches a counterattack and decides that if Gomez wants to play so badly, then she will play with him. Tama is only a level 14 martial artist, so Otto declares that he will assist her by singing for her. Tama then, shocked to see that he's a level 89 minstrel. Otto's music gives her a buff, but Tama disappointed to see that it doesn't do anything. Tama looks to Sensei for help, but he's entranced by all those newest songs. This leaves Tama to go one-on-one with the beast, and she manages to land the cat punch and the cat kick. Gomez easily pushes her back though and mocks her by acting like he didn't feel a single thing. Gomez announces that he will put all his power into his next attack and his iron horns will tear Tama to pieces. Tama is terrified of his sharp horns, but Sensei interrupts and politely asks if the demon could end his and Charlotte's life first. Gomez is in disbelief, so Sensei explains that they both want to be eliminated and it would be an honor if Gomez did it with his magnificent horns. Charlotte has been freed from the grasp of her father, so he wants the giant cow to grant them this wish. Everyone begs Sensei to rethink his decision, but the thing Sensei causes a giant cow was already on board. Gomez says that he will eliminate them first, then the king, and after that he will bring the city to the ground, ending the lives of every citizen in the kingdom. Sensei couldn't care less since they won't be alive for all that, but Charlotte seems upset. Sensei assures her that everything will be fine though because their wish will be granted. Everyone begs for the monster to stop, but it's too late as Gomez has already started charging at them. Just then Charlotte comes to the realization that she doesn't want her life to end just yet. She declares that she wants to continue living so she can protect the people of their kingdom. It turns out that Sensei knew she will come to her senses, and he points out that she really is a kind princess. Sensei had a plan all along as he pushes Charlotte to safety, and he declares that as his partner for double unalive she simply will not do. Charlotte calls out to him as he's about to get obliterated, but Annette comes out of nowhere and protects Sensei with the magic barrier. She's a level 18 priestess and she refuses to Sensei lose his life while she is around. The demon's horns are shattered by Annette's barrier, so Tama follows it up with their Wildcat strike attack. This attack is pretty powerful and it sends Gomez flying out of the castle. Tama thanks Annette for saving her, but Annette points out that Tama saved her as well. Otto declares that he will turn their beautiful friendship into a song, but everyone has had enough of this guy already. Just then, and the king apologizes profusely to Charlotte. He realizes now that he should have considered her feelings and he doesn't think he's fit to be king or fit to be her father. He begs for forgiveness, so Charlotte accepts and they agreed to be more open with each other in the future. The two have a very nice moment, but Sensei can help but think about how you feel to unalive again. A while later, Guard urgently warned that monsters have arrived at the southern gate. We see there Charlotte is in charge now, so she sends the royal guard to exterminate the threat. Back with our group, the girls hope that Charlotte will be able to handle the pressure of ruling as the queen. Sensei speaks from his comfortable coffin and explains that Charlotte made the decision herself, so she will be fine. Sensei declares the women that are losing their life are very beautiful, but women who stand up on their own 2 feet are beautiful as well. The girls are tired of his nonsense though, and they just wish he would walk on his own already. The story continues. We see the girls get tired and decide to take a break so they can eat something. Our lazy protagonist somewhere just from his coffin and eager to eat something, but they only have bread. Sensei might rather eat some boiled tofu, so Annette decide that they should look for someone in nearby town. The group is only a few days away from reaching Tama's hometown, but Annette would like them to make a stop at a temple. Normally another worlder arrives at one of the 4 temples in this world and they head directly for the Dark Lord Castle. However, Sensei's goal isn't to defeat the Dark Lord because he just wants to find Sacchan. This means that they have to visit the 4 temples to gather information on where Sacchan is. Tama is shocked because this means that if they have a hard time finding her, then they will have to travel all around the world. Annette doesn't even want Sensei to fight the Dark Lord because it's too dangerous, and Tama once again teases her for being in love with him. Annette denies it and explains that Sensei just gave her hope when she had given up on her job. Tama points out that Sacchan might be Sensei's soulmate, so Annette admits to traveling with him to find this out. Tama agrees to go with them until they reach her hometown, but Annette's half-hearted thank you makes Tama realize that Annette would rather be alone with Sensei. Annette ditched her job, so Tama wonders if she will even be allowed into the temple. Annette isn't worried though because the head priestess of this next temple is a dear friend of hers. Besides that, Annette didn't just leave her post without notice. She sent her letter of resignation using her familiar. This familiar makes its first appearance, but it does so by snacking on Sensei's head. Annette scolds the little monster, but she gets even more upset when she finds out that it didn't deliver her letter of resignation. Sensei points out that the little beast is pretty loyal for returning to its master, and he names it Melas. Melas seems to have taken a liking to him, but Sensei just wants to get more rest. Just then Sensei must tell Melas to quiet down as he begins to panic and the terrifying dragon appears. Dragons are this world's most powerful monster, and it terrifies the girls with a scream. Just then a girl calls it Ryuka and tells it to stop. Annette and Tama are confused. The girl approaches the dragon, so they tell her to be careful. They are shocked though when this girl speaks a different language to the dragon and tames it. The girl assumes that Annette and Tama's group has already suffered casualties because of the coffin, and she recommends that they leave this area that is incredibly dangerous. Sensei emerges from his coffin and he assumes that it's time to eat, and the girls ask the stranger to forgive his real behavior because he's an otherworlder. Hearing this infuriates the girl though, and she vows to eliminate all otherworlders. She unleashes the power that terrifies the girls, and her attack must be brought by Annette's barrier. Annette does her best to hold back the attack, but her shield is eventually broken. Our group is badly injured as the girls attacked massive damage to the area, and Annette concedes that the girls' magic is insanely powerful. The girls vow to protect Sensei at all costs, but the stranger brings them to their knees with their power. The stranger symbol terrifies Annette even more because it's the symbol of the wrathful Dark Lord. Just then the girls are shocked when Sensei stands as he has had enough of all the dangerous behavior. He points out that the girls have nothing to do with this. Sensei reminds the girl that she's after otherworlders and he is her only opponent. He tells her to do as she pleases and reveals that he's prepared for his life to end at any time. His friends begged him to stop, but it's too late as the stranger grants his wish, and she sends her arm right through his chest. The girls are terrified as Sensei collapses to the ground and the stranger reveals that her name is Waldelia. Annette and Tama faint, but Waldelia is shocked when Sensei reveals that he's still alive. He can tell that Waldelia has a lot of hatred inside of her, and Sensei says that he can relate. Sensei has lost his mind to intense hatred before as well. Waldelia is terrified to see him still alive as he approaches her, and Sensei says that her eyes look very sad. Sensei would like to know why, but Waldelia's terror causes her to flee with her dragon. She is still uneasy about what just happened, and she wonders just who Sensei is. A while later, we see the Melos Brothar trio to the temple they were going to. The priestess rushes to Annette, but Annette tells her that Sensei needs immediate medical attention. He's in really bad shape, so the priestess summons every priest to bring every healing potion they have. A while later, we see that Sensei is fine as he shops for some poison. The vendor explains that the poison is most effective when thrown at a monster, but he is shocked when Sensei just drinks it. Tama is furious because he just made a miraculous recovery, but the princesses are glad to see that he's doing well. The priestess named Isha explains that she hasn't met anyone named Sacchan, but she is more concerned about why Annette is traveling with another worlder. She's glad that Annette quit her job because she's too pure for it, but she's upset to see that she's traveling with another worlder. Isha hates other worlders because they use their gifts they were given by the gods for selfish reasons. Just then, some strange rapping otherworlder named Kotaro tells the girls to stop arguing and have some fun with him. They ignore him, but Kotaro demonstrates his overpowered skill of mass production. It allows him to produce an unlimited amount of the world's currency, so he offers to buy the girls whatever they want. Isha get rid of the guy, but he promises make them pay, and Isha points out that all other worlders are like that guy. Annette explains that Sensei is different, but Isha can tell just by looking at him that he's just as destructive as the others. Annette still argues for him and points out that he changed his entire life. Just then, Sensei asks for money to buy some drugs. Annette casually gives it to him, but still tries to tell Isha that he isn't destructive at all. Isha then shocked to learn that Sensei doesn't have a gift, despite that Sensei still fought against the wrathful Dark Lord for his friends. Isha stunned to hear this though, because the wrathful Dark Lord was actually destroyed by another otherworlder 7 days ago. Tama just is shocked to hear this news, and the two girls celebrate because it means that peace has finally come to their world. This, however, makes them question who that girl with the dragon was. It's also strange that Sensei arrived 7 days ago, but Annette can only think about how that was the day Sensei completely changed her life. Their biggest question is, if this world no longer has a Dark Lord, then why was Sensei brought here in the first place? Just then, the girls are startled as Sensei tears up a bunch of papers. Sensei dramatically explained that he was trying to write about the events that had happened after being brought to this world. He was struggling to write though, so he is now disappearing over it. Annette eagerly waits to hear what he wrote about that meeting for the first time, but he heard this shared when Sensei reveals that he didn't write about her at all. Sensei isn't sure why his meeting with Waldelia gave him a surge of creativity, and he hopes that something else that excites him will occur. Annette thinks he might find something at the Explore the Town, and recent events have made him wanted by Sensei some stuff anyway. In town we find that which she wanted to buy Sensei is some heavy-duty armor. There is no telling when there will be attacked again, and Annette never wants to see Sensei suffering ever again. Tama points out that Sensei looks like he's suffering right now, but Sensei actually kind of likes the oppressive feeling that the armor gives him. The girls go to do more shopping, and Annette tells Sensei to stay there. Isha finds him, and Sensei explains that he was just searching for new excitement. Isha declares that Annette will be staying with her from now on because she has always been a pure girl, and it makes her trust people too easily. Isha sure that and never will be unhappy traveling with him, so she begs Sensei to break up his party. Sensei just smirks though and points out that it's up to Annette to decide what she wants to do. He declares that Isha has no say in the matter, and he wonders why she thinks Annette will be unhappy anyway. Isha explains that it's because Sensei is otherworlder and she doesn't trust otherworlders. Just then Isha is stunned and the crowd from as some guy arrives. This man is said to have been created by the heavens to stand above everyone in the world. He is another worlder and his name is Lord Suzuki. Suzuki announces to everyone that the Dark World was defeated 7 days ago, and he tells them to rejoice as peace has come to their world. Their crowd erupts with cheer, and they all praise the other worlders, but Suzuki reveals his real intentions. He points out that they risk their lives to bring them peace, so it's only right that the other worlders be allowed to rule the world. Because of this, he declares that this time will be known as the Great Hero Age. Suzuki has decided to be the ruler of this town, and his buddy Kotaro tells the townspeople to bow down to Suzuki. Just then Kotaro points to the girls and tells Suzuki that they were the ones that mess with him. Suzuki is furious and declares that they committed acts of violence to another worlder. Annette tries to explain that he is mistaken, but Suzuki refuses to listen to someone who will bring harm to a hero. Nearby we see that the town is on fire, and Sensei states that he finally felt like he could write his masterpiece. Moments earlier, Suzuki pets Annette on the head and tells her to be a good girl. He uses some kind of skill on her and she collapses to the ground. Kotaro celebrates and explains that the more pure Suzuki's victims are, the sooner they fall to his skill. Tama demands to know what he did, so Kotaro explains this Suzuki skill turns anyone he pets into his slave. Tama demands that they release Annette, but Suzuki just uses his skill on her too. Suzuki brags about how powerful he is, but Isha arrives to remind him that she didn't teach him to use his gift that way. She declares that the town will never fall under his control, and all the townspeople agree with her. Suzuki decides that he will just have to destroy the town, so he sends his wolves to attack everyone. He demands for Isha to call him a hero and tells her to be happy because he plans to use her church as his castle. The town is now on fire as chaos breaks out. Tama is under Suzuki's control, so she attacks Sensei like a wild animal. Sensei realizes that Annette was right about wearing armor all along, since you never know who might attack. Tama manages to destroy his armor, but the helmet ends up knocking her out by accident. To keep her safe, Sensei decides to put her in a barrel. With the sign saying that a wildcat is inside, Isha collapses near him and she points out what otherworlders are really like. Suzuki used his gift for selfish reasons, and now his greed has become completely unstoppable and he has lost control. Suzuki wasn't like that at all when he first came to this world because he was quiet and weak. Sensei surprisingly takes notes because Suzuki has piqued his interest, and he tells Isha to watch over Tama while he confronts Suzuki. Isha reminds Sensei that he won't be able to do anything because he doesn't have a gift, but Sensei has a feeling that he will finally be able to write his masterpiece. Sensei allows her to come with him, but she is surprised to see how calm he is. Isha explains that Suzuki is really strong and Sensei doesn't stand a chance against the gifted otherworlder. She is sure that Sensei will be torn to pieces as soon as he opens the door to the church. Just then Sensei takes out his poison and Isha is relieved to see that he must have a plan. She assumes that he's going to poison Suzuki's guard dogs, but she is shocked when he drinks it instead. He's all out of poison, so Isha takes charge and tells him to follow her so they can sneak in. Sensei just ignores her though and opens the door. He gets right to the point and tells Suzuki that he would like to base a novel on him. Suzuki assumes that Sensei wants to write the heroic tale of Suzuki, the hero conquering another world, but Sensei has a different idea. The novel will be about a man that gains more power than he deserves and falls into his own greed. Suzuki's insulted, so he sends his wolves after Sensei, but our protagonist just stands there writing. Isha handles most of the wolves, but one grabs her and Suzuki prepares to end their lives. Isha warns that the attack is aimed right at Sensei, but he just keeps writing. The attack is unleashed, but everyone is shocked when it is blocked by Sensei's helmet from his armor. It turns out to be Melos in the helmet, so Sensei thanks him. Kotaro is terrified because they're out of fireball potions, but Suzuki reminds him that he still has his number one pet. Suzuki warns that his pet takes the life of anyone it bites, and he laughs like a lunatic when it gets bitten. The beast collapses though, and Sensei says that dogs should be chained up at all times. A voice comes from Sensei's system and it announces that he inflicted 600 damage to the beast with his poison. Kotaro is stunned as the wolf completely turns to ash, and Isha assumes that Sensei infused himself with poison. Suzuki calls Kotaro a coward as he runs away, but Suzuki isn't ready to give up. Instead he calls on his trump card, and Isha is horrified to see that it's Annette. He instructs Annette to eliminate them, so Isha defends herself and declares that they should retreat. Sensei disagrees and explains Annette isn't as weak as Useless seems to think. Sensei approaches her, but Suzuki explains that his skill can't be removed by anyone, and Annette will be his slave for the rest of her life. Sensei doesn't listen to the nerd as he explains that Annette will be the one to decide what she does with her life, and Suzuki has no say in the matter. Sensei places himself right in front of her blade and reminds her that she is not some bird in a cage. Annette seems to be fighting Suzuki's spell, so he screams for her to hurry and eliminate Sensei. Annette prepares to do so, but we then see what's going on inside of her mind. She's trapped inside of a cage, but Sensei appears to shine some light on her. Annette finds a moment of clarity, so she stabs herself and breaks the spell. Sensei catches her and the two greet each other. Sensei has Isha treated Annette's wounds, and she thinks about how he said that Annette isn't weak. Suzuki is utterly shocked by someone breaking his spell, and he can't handle it. He attempts to unalive himself, but Sensei surprisingly stops him. Sensei reminds Suzuki that he's writing a novel about him, so he can't end the story early. Sensei instructs Suzuki to tell him his story, so we get a look at Suzuki's past. Suzuki explains that he was always timid and stronger guys always made him their pet. He thought about unaliving himself several times, but he could never go through with it. One night, Suzuki bumped into some drunk guy, but he didn't have the courage to stick up for himself when the drunk guy insulted him. Suzuki was distracted, so he fell victim to the merciless Track-kun. He was brought to the new world and he was greeted by Isha. She explained that he was now a hero and he had to use the gift he was granted to defeat the Dark Lord. Suzuki's adventure began and he learned to use his gift by controlling wolves. He used the wolves to defeat a monster, and he realized how powerful he was. In town, Suzuki would receive strange looks because he was different from everyone. He was bumped and insulted just like before, but this time he used his gift to get revenge. Suzuki explains that he was someone that suffered countless failures in his old world. However, he was suddenly granted power and made a hero. To Suzuki, it's unrealistic to think that someone that has gone through all this would try to save some new world. Suzuki decided to become evil, but he has failed and he realizes that he will always be a weak nobody. Suzuki is shocked to hear how pleased Sensei is, and Sensei declares that his novel based on Suzuki is finally complete. It's the story of a miserable man who, despite hoping to live as a hero in this world, could become neither a hero nor a villain due to his own weakness. Sensei has decided to call it No Longer Allowed in Another World. Just then Sensei's book bursts with energy and the pages surround Suzuki. Sensei thanks Suzuki because he helped him finally write something he was satisfied with again. Unfortunately, Sensei decides that this book cannot be called a masterpiece. He tears one of the pages and the ground begins to shake. The girls are stunned because they notice that a magic circle for summoning otherworlders has appeared. They have no clue what's going on, but they see that the power of teleportation is flowing back into the circle. Power erupts from the church and the girls are stunned when they realize the Suzuki must have been sent back to his own world. Annette is sure that Sensei didn't have a gift before, but looking at his system shows that he has a writing skill called storyteller. Isha is shocked when she realizes that this is probably a special skill that only activates against certain targets, and in this case it's otherworlders. This is pretty horrifying as it means that Sensei must have been brought to this world to fight otherworlders. Sensei falls to the ground as he once again failed to write his masterpiece and he starts taking pills again. Sensei wonders if he will ever find anyone else that intrigues him, and Isha wonders who this guy is. Sensei wonders where Suzuki went, so he has to be told that he sent Suzuki back to his world. Back in town, the wolves leave and Tama emerges from her barrel. Later, Isha gives Sensei a new coffin and she speaks with Annette. She predicts that Sensei has an important role to fulfill in the future of their world and their journey will be dangerous. Annette assumes that Isha just going to try to convince her not to go with him, but she is shocked when Isha expresses confidence that Annette will do a great job supporting Sensei. Before they leave, Isha asks Sensei that Suzuki became evil because he was granted power he didn't deserve. Sensei doesn't know, so she wonders if Suzuki will have to continue living a miserable life in his old world. Sensei explains that Suzuki's story will continue and it will be up to him whether it becomes a masterpiece or not. Isha just glad to hear that and our group leaves. We then see Suzuki in his old world. He has just finished up interviewing for a job and he is told that he can start tomorrow. Suzuki heads outside and we're going to look at a piece of one of the pages from Sensei's book that says to be continued. Elsewhere, Isha go to another cathedral to meet with the other archbishops. The one named Wolf has started drinking again because his jurisdiction is filled with dwarves. He calls Isha lucky because her jurisdiction has demi-humans and she doesn't have to deal with dwarves all day. Other member arrives and scold Wolf for being a speciesist. Wolf commends this guy for not only being the first non-elf to be appointed priest, but also for achieving the rank of archbishop. This big red guy is a goblin and he points out that a person as species doesn't really matter. There are even some elves that behave in a way that is disgraceful. Wolf is insulted, but Cardinal Miller arrives to stop their argument. Miller is the one that summoned the priests and he prepares to hear the reports. Just then another priestess arrives in embarrassing fashion, and she apologizes for being late. The new girl's named is Arya and she is Annette's replacement. She says that she has nothing to report, but she must apologize when Miller points out that some girl recently inherited the throne in her jurisdiction. The big red guy's name is Elton, and his report reveals that things are peaceful as always in his jurisdiction. Wolf oversees the land of desert and earth, and he has nothing of importance to report. There are frequent conflicts between dwarves, but it's nothing out of the ordinary and they even attack Wolf sometimes. Isha introduces herself to the newbie and reveals in her report that an otherworlders there went on a rampage and destroyed half of a town. Miller explains that the otherworlders are exactly what he called this meeting. The wrathful Dark Lord has already been defeated by a group of otherworlders, so it has been decided by the Pope that the magic circles connecting the world will be sealed. This means that they will stop summoning otherworlders. Elton is glad that their battle against the Dark Lord has ended and Wolf is relieved to finally be free from looking after the otherworlders. However, Miller gets very serious and reveals that there is a new problem at hand. The 7 otherworlders that defeated the Dark Lord have claimed the Dark Lord's lands and become its new rulers. The others are shocked, but it gets worse as the otherworlders sent a declaration to the Pope. Their intentions are to transform all the lands into a utopia. The Pope is greatly distressed because he believed that the otherworlders were angels sent to save this world, and he loved them because of this. However, these people that he considered his own children have now bared their fangs against him and declared war against the world. The 7 angels that saved the world have become 7 fallen angels, who are now threatening the world. That isn't all, although, as there are other fallen otherworlders who have begun causing chaos in each region. As if all that weren't bad enough, the daughter of the Dark Lord named Waldelia is still a threat. It's the mission of the archbishops to protect the peace of this world, but they can't believe that the otherworlders have become their enemies. If the otherworlders work together, then they will surely become more of a threat than the Dark Lord was. Arya wonders how they will fight such a threat, and Isha think back to Sensei's power. Isha declare that there might be a way to defeat the otherworlders, and she tells the other bishops about Sensei. She explains that he used his gift to send another wilder back to his own world. The others are stunned to hear that such a power exists, and the Pope arrives to question if this is really possible. Everyone bows down to him, and the Pope declares that Sensei might be the ray of hope among all the darkness. The Pope is intrigued by him and instructs Isha to tell him more about Sensei. Elsewhere, a man asks a woman if she is thinking about her beloved. This girl doesn't speak though and only hums a song. The guy explains that their allies have departed to various lands. As for the 2 of them, they will remain where they are and observe what's in store for this world. Elsewhere, our groups decides to stop at a town before reaching their destination. A voice announces that Tama has reached level 17, but she isn't happy about leveling up, just some dragging her coffin around. Some random kid shows them where the inn is, and he offers to give them some information that will help them on their adventures. This kid explains to them something called a hero introduction service. It's a service that assigns otherworlders to accompany parties that lack confidence in their skills, providing them with a safe and comfortable journey. Tama thinks about the evil otherworlder she has met, but the kid reminds her that otherworlders are heroes meant to save the world. The hero introduction service is a business idea this kid came up with, so he offers to introduce the girls to otherworlders for only 40,000 Geniko. Tama declines such a silly offer, but Annette eagerly orders 1 valiant warrior. Tama scolds her, but Annette says that it's a small price to pay for Sensei's safety. The kid thinks that there's a deceased person in the coffin and assumes that he wants safety from beyond the grave. Of course, he is shocked when Sensei reveals that he's actually still alive. The girls explain that Sensei is a hero as well, but the kid doesn't think he looks like one at all, and he introduces himself as Nier as he takes Annette's money and he goes to get them their adventurer. Tama is really to be getting a warrior on their team to pull Sensei's coffin, but Annette refuses to give that job to anyone else. That night, our groups waits for Nier at the inn, but Sensei is sure that he won't be returning. The innkeeper knows all about Nier, and Annette confirms that they gave him money. She reveals that Nier is actually scams people a lot, and it turns out that he has never even met an adventurer. There is no way he could introduce anyone to an adventurer, and they would just fooled by Big Mouth Nier. Annette becomes furious, and Tama does her best to get her to take deep breaths. Nier is an orphan, and he makes a living by fooling visitors who come to town. He doesn't have any adults in his life to scold him, so he has become the town nuisance. The innkeeper assured that the heroes Nier talks about don't exist, because if they did, then they would have saved Nier by now. Elsewhere, we find Nier under a bridge and he stares at a sword. The sad moment is interrupted when he is captured by a mysterious group. This group also takes all the money that Nier saved up, and they tell him that they plan to end his life. Nier becomes furious and declares that his otherworlders' friends will come to rescue him. These horrible guys mock the kid and reveal that there are actually otherworlders themselves. The guys wonder if this is Nier's first time seeing overpowered abilities, and Nier is horrified as his entire world is crashing down. The bowman shows off his ultimate weapon and declares that it can even pierce the skin of the dragon. The guys have heard that Nier has been using the names of otherworlders to make money, so they call him an evil little kid that needs to be punished. They tell him to cheer up because he can brag in the afterlife about being eliminated by heroes, and they begin a 5-second countdown. Nier has lost all hope because he always thought the otherworlders were heroes. He prepares for his life to be over as the countdown ends and he is shot at, but Sensei comes out of nowhere to rescue him. Sensei says that they have no right to call themselves heroes and blames liars like them for while children misbehave. One of the thieves analyzes Sensei and he panics as he realizes that he is also an otherworlder. The thief says that Sensei is nothing to worry about though when he sees that Sensei not only has just one hit point but he's also poisoned. The boss is determined to get revenge for scaring them, and he tells Sensei that his life will now end. Unfortunately for him, this actually intrigues Sensei. The thieves start panicking again as Sensei's vitality starts to rise rapidly, and he tells them to aim for his heart when they shoot him. The thieves are horrified to see how calm Sensei is, so they run for their lives. Nier wonders if Sensei is a hero, but Sensei says that he's no one special. He says that adults are kids who have been betrayed, but Nier is just a child and he's not ready to become an adult. Nier's eyes still admire heroes, so for now that is how it should be. Sensei makes his exit, but the kid is shocked to see that he's just leaving him behind all tied up. The next morning, our group prepares to head straight for the town of Grun. The girls can tell their sensei didn't get enough sleep, so they wonder where he went the night before. Sensei doesn't say, so Annette suspects that he went to see another woman. Sensei doesn't tell her and just begins to rest. Just then Nier shows up and Tama demands that he give them back their money. Nier says that he didn't lie to them and he will be the valiant warrior to join their party. As the journey continues, Sensei receives some experience points for exploring a new area. The annoying announcement voice makes Sensei want to end his own life, and Nier is shocked to hear him beat this way. Nier warns the girls about Sensei's depression, but Tama reminds the kid that he's supposed to be a valiant warrior, and she makes him drag the coffin. They eventually arrive at Tama's hometown of Grun, and there is a security checkpoint. Tama tells the others not to worry though because she's a bit of a celebrity there and will easily be able to get them through. Tama goes to speak to the guards, but our group is quickly surrounded. They are being arrested, but Sensei just seems to get intrigued. Our group is thrown into a cell, and Annette becomes depressed when the gods don't answer her pleas for help. Tama was separated from the group and Annette sobs uncontrollably. The guards arrested Tama and everyone she was with the moment they saw her, so Nier assumes that she must have committed a terrible crime. Sensei wonders how people are executed in this world, but Annette refuses to tell him because he's clearly looking forward to it. Nier figures they should try to escape and Annette wonders how he plans to do so. The kid picks the lock, but Annette doesn't think the behavior is fitting for a supposed valiant warrior. Nier thinks that Sensei will praise him for picking the lock, but he's actually disappointed because he has to live now. Their escaping instantly fails and they're quickly captured. Sensei tries asking the guards if they will be executed, but they just call him a creep. Our group is told that they have committed some severe crimes, so they will actually be executed. Everyone except Sensei argues against the decision, but they are told that they are guilty of kidnapping the kingdom's princess named Matilda. Matilda turns out to be Tama, and she has to tell her father again that she wasn't kidnapped. Tama explains that she was traveling while improving her combat skills, and Annette cooperates to story. Tama demands that her friends be released, but the king refuses and Sensei is the only one pleased with the decision. The king eventually agrees to release them, but first he wants Matilda to promise that she will never leave the kingdom like that again. He wants her to act more like her mother, someone fitting of royalty. Tama takes one look at her poor friends and agreed to do as her father says. She will act like a princess from now on, so she apologizes to her friends as their journey together will have to end. Tama leaves and the rest of the group is set free. They go to eat, but Sensei is pretty disappointed about not having his life ended. Nier can't believe that Tama is a princess, and Annette realizes how wrong she was for treating Tama so poorly. Annette now panics because she fears that she will be executed for being so mean to her. Just then a waitress named Fawn overhears them talking about the princess. Fawn used to serve the princess and the castle, and she seems disappointed to hear that the king forced Tama to return. Sensei can tell that she knows a lot about Tama's relationship with her father, so he asks for more information. Sensei explains how he met Tama and admits that it would be pretty hard not to be interested in her past. Annette doesn't think they should pry into her past because she is a princess, and they should probably start calling her by her real name. Sensei says that he doesn't care about any of that because she is Tama to him, and the waitress agrees to spill the beans. At the castle, Tama laughs at how everyone acted when they heard she was a princess, and she wonders what they are doing. Just then she notices someone strange standing on top of a house. Tama is shocked when major damage is caused to the house and the king appears to confront the attacker. This guy has come to the land where demi-humans congregate simply because he hasn't eaten a demi-human yet. He wonders what they taste like, and he introduces himself as Kaibara. Kaibara reveals that he is one of the heroes who killed the Dark Lord and saved the world. Despite being a hero, he has come to be known as the fallen angel of gluttony. The king realizes that this guy is one of the 7 fallen angels, so he wonders what he's doing there. Kaibara's answer is simple. He has come to consume the entire nation. Kaibara shows the gift he was given by God, but the troops are determined to show him why they called Grun a nation of heroes. They go to attack this guy, but Kaibara uses his ability to eat them alive with the snap of his fingers. Kaibara's gift allows him to eat with the giant mouth eats, and he says that the troops tasted terrible. Kaibara doesn't want to eat disgusting troops and prefers consuming women. The king shocks his troops as he plans to fight Kaibara alone, and he tells Kaibara that he won't let him leave alive. The king is the level 52 warrior, and he demonstrates his power by blocking Kaibara's attacks with the ground. Kaibara tries to mock him, but the king manages to land a powerful lightning attack. Kaibara was just pretending to be hurt though, and he pushes the king back. He admits that the attack would have destroyed a normal person, but he explains that his body is much tougher than anyone else's. The reason for this is because he just ate a bunch of golems the other day. The king gets very serious as the electricity because of flow from his fist, and the king's right-hand man wonders if he's planning to use his ultimate technique. This is shocking because it means that instead of capturing Kaibara, the king is going to destroy him. The king says that Kaibara doesn't deserve any mercy after eliminating his troops, so he declares that he will destroy Kaibara with the single attack. The two charges at each other, but the king is shocked when Tama stops them. Kaibara is excited to see the demi-girl, but Tama is terrified when she realizes that he was the guy on the roof. Tama prepares for battle by ripping her dress to shreds, but the king tells her to stay back. He says that she can never replace someone named Leon, and this clearly upsets her. Back with Sensei, the waitress reveals that Tama used to have a twin brother. His name was Leon, and he was said to inherit the throne. With Tama and Leon leading the way, everyone believed that peace would be everlasting in the kingdom. However, 10 years ago, Leon and the queen lost their lives during a storm. The king grieved for a really long time, so Tama had decided that she would take Leon's place and put her father's mind at ease. This is a pretty sad backstory, but Sensei seems pleased for some reason. Unfortunately for Tama, her decision just created a deep rift between herself and the kings. Back at the fight, the king tells Tama that her martial arts are utterly useless. She tries to prove that she can fight, so Kaibara decides not to hold back, and he prepares to eat her alive. Tama is about to be consumed, but her father pushes her to safety at the last moment. Tama screamed to him as he has lost his arm, and Kaibara admires the love between a parent and child. Kaibara was hoping to get a taste of the king's ultimate technique, but he's disappointed because he won't be able to use it with the missing arm. Kaibara mockingly apologizes for eating it, and this makes Tama furious. She attacks with blinding rage, but the king's right-hand man takes her away. The disappointed Kaibara decides that he will have to save the main dish for later, and he wonders how he will consume the king. Back with Sensei, he thinks fun for the information, and the king's right-hand man appears out of nowhere. Tama is unconscious, so he explains that the castle has fallen into the evil otherworlder, who suddenly showed up. Just then, everyone in the kingdom is startled as a hole is blown through one of the castle walls. Everyone becomes concerned when they see the tied-up king, and Kaibara declares that he is the new king of the land. Kaibara assures them that he's not there to oppress them, and he only wants one thing as king. This one thing is pretty horrible, though, as he says that he wants to taste the flesh of all the varieties of demi-humans who live there. He tries to calm everyone down by saying that the men can continue working as usual because he only wants to consume women and children. The people reject this horrible offer, but Kaibara makes an example out of one of them. Kaibara changes his mind about not eating men and decides that he will just eat entire families so they can be together inside his stomach. Everyone panics as they run away, but Kaibara has stationed monsters all over town. Kaibara leaves for now, and Nier points out that guy is a psycho. Sensei doesn't seem bothered at all for some reason and just finishes up some writing. Tama's situation is really difficult, so Sensei calls her the heroine of tragedy. The heroine he seeks never just accepts tragedy, so he tells Tama to open her eyes and show him the rest of her story. This causes a quick flashback to one Tama who was with her mother. Tama wakes up and frantically searches for her father. The others explained that Kaibara has taken over the capital and is planning to eat their citizens. The furious Tama is stopped from going after Kaibara, and she is reminded that the king didn't even stand a chance against him. Tama reveals that her father only failed because he was trying to protect her, and she vows to protect this nation. Just then Annette recalls a tragedy that took Tama's mother and brother. Everyone in the kingdom shed tears for them, so it's pretty clear that they care a lot about Tama's royal family. People will lose all hope if Tama falls to Kaibara, so Annette tells her to let her friends handle it. Tama is hesitant, but Annette reminds her that they have a secret weapon for defeating otherworlders. Sensei tells Nier, Annette and Melas that it's time to go, and Tama is told that she has really good friends. At the castle, our group is confronted by monsters who were instructed to eliminate everyone who approached them. Annette tells Sensei to stay back, but he surprisingly steps forward and tells the monsters that they just came to be eaten. Sensei says that he was inspired by Kaibara's speech. Sensei is always thinking about death, but he has never considered being eaten to death. Sensei tells the monsters to go and form the king, but they're confused because it's a strange request from a crazy person. He tells them to hurry up, but this only gets them thrown into prison again. Sensei tells Annette to calm down, but she blames him for everything. He shows no concern at all though, and reveals that he had a lockpick and the kid's hat. Back in town, Briard finds that Tama is gone. At the castle, Kaibara prepares for his first meal, but the monsters arrive to tell them about the strange human that has arrived. Just then Tama comes out of nowhere to destroy one of these monsters. Kaibara knew that she would come eventually, but the king calls her a fool. Tama is clearly enraged, but Kaibara is just glad that he will be able to eat a demigirl. A look into the past shows Tama watching her brother training with her father. The king was hard on him because he was next in line to become king, but Leon did not back down. The king hated how Tama would always watch them, and she begged her father to let her train too. The king told her to know her place as princess, and he instructed her to put on her dress before sending her to her room. Tama told her mother that she hated the king because he won't let her study martial arts. She wished that she was never born a princess, but her mother told her to listen closely to what she was about to say. We return to the present, where Kaibara says he knew Tama would come if he used her father as bait. Tama vows to destroy Kaibara with their own hands, but Kaibara distracts her, and then the powerful electric attack. She takes some serious damage, so her father calls out to her. Tama realizes that Kaibara just used one of the king's attacks, and Kaibara explains that it's because of his overpowered skill called gluttony. Not only does he gain increased abilities depending on the flesh eats, but he even gains the ability to use skills possessed by the flesh. Kaibara tans Tama by saying that she will be torn apart by her father's own skills before she is eaten. Elsewhere, Annette is impressed because being captured was part of Sensei's plan to get into the castle. Nier is glad that Sensei didn't really want to be eaten to death, but he doesn't know how crazy Sensei is. Annette thinks they should hurry to find the other worlder, but Sensei have something else planned. Sensei takes them to the queen's room, but Nier doesn't think there should be snooping around. Sensei says he needs his exceptional skills though, so the kid changes his tune and breaks into the queen's dresser. There we see what Sensei was after all along. Back with Tama, Kaibara takes control of the fight by thrashing her bow. He agrees with her father as he points out that her martial arts are useless. A look back shows her wondering when Leon was always training. Leon admitted that he was a very good fighter and said that Tama might even have more talent for it than him. However, him being bad just made him want to train harder so he could be more like their father. His goal was to be able to protect their family and the entire nation. This motivates Tama to continue fighting, but the king points out how much stronger Kaibara is compared to her. Tama has realized this as well, but she explains that Leon wouldn't have given up, so she won't either. Kaibara laughs like a maniac because he says that he feels most alive when he eats spirited flesh like hers. Kaibara realizes now that his past life was meaningless, but it has all led up to this day. In his old world, Kaibara was really unhappy and he thought he might as well have been dead. He was born in a giant mansion and his parents bought him everything. His plate was always filled with food, but his heart was becoming more and more empty. This made him want to try and eat someone, but he was stopped and he remained unsatisfied. From the outside, everyone thought he was fortunate, but Kaibara felt like he was a caged animal. Kaibara unleashed his frustration on a homeless person, but it wasn't enough, and he thought he was the most miserable person in the world. Just then Track-kun came to the rescue and Kaibara smiled before being crushed. This is how he came to this world, and now he eats whatever he wants. The king screams in agony as Kaibara moves to eat Tama, but Kaibara stopped as Sensei appears out of nowhere. Sensei says that this story is so boring that he couldn't bear to listen. Kaibara tries to control his monster mouth thing, but it surprisingly doesn't move. This has never happened before, and Kaibara realizes that his instincts are refusing to eat Sensei. Annette arrives to declare that Sensei has the ability to banish other worlders from this world, and she tells Sensei to write Kaibara's story. She heroically tells him to use his gifts, the storyteller, but Sensei refuses. He explains that Kaibara is a boring man and his boasting about his own misfortune isn't worth writing about. The annoyed Kaibara demands respect and unleashes a bunch of power. He vows to eliminate everyone before eating the princess, and Tama thinks about how this is all her fault. It was all her fault for trying to fight, and if she just realized that she would never want to be Leon, then none of this would have happened. Tama sobs as she blames herself for everything, but Sensei comforts her and dedicates a story to her. Just as he had hoped, Tama's ill-fated destiny was worth writing about. Tama opens the book, releasing its power, and Annette notices that it's Sensei's gift. This is pretty shocking, as she now wonders if his ability even works on non-otherworlders. Her thought is interrupted though by the attacking Kaibara. Sensei learned about Tama's past, and he came to realize that her kindness makes her suppress her own true feelings. Because of this, she was bound to her father's vision of an ideal princess. After her family's tragedy, Tama wanted to make her father feel better. To do this, she desperately tried to replace her brother, who had been the ideal prince. The king, however, misunderstood her intentions. It only hurt the relationship, and Tama eventually lost sight of her true self. However, Sensei reminds her that her mother told Tama who she was meant to be. Tama goes back to this memory where her mother told her to live her life as she sees fit. Tama will sure that the king would never allow it, but her mother told her not to worry because she could convince him. She said that the king really just wanted Tama to be happy, and Tama is shocked to remember all this. Tama is torn between being a princess like her father once and living as an ideal prince in her brother's place. Sensei says that neither of those are the answer, and she is simply Tama. Tama is shocked by his words, and she's finally able to break free from the chains holding her down. Kaibara just now notices what's going on, but it's too late, as Sensei tells Tama that it's up to her to write the rest of the story. Tama begins to glow, and the king is shocked to see something called the crest of the divine beast. A look back shows that Leon was impressed to see this mark on Tama. It was pretty faint at the time, but it was clear that she would develop the crest in the future. Leon wanted to tell their father, but Tama knew that he wouldn't be happy about it. It turns out that the king overheard them, but the crest hasn't appeared since that day. The king acknowledges that he was responsible for it being locked away because he wanted to shield Tama from danger. The king realizes now that he is a fool and asks Tama to forgive him. Kaibara declares that he just now finished digesting the king's flesh and he can use his full power. He mocks Tama though because she looks like an anime character that has just now awakened her powers. He declares that it won't happen though because he will devour all of them. Sensei tells him that he is wrong because even when people are pushed into the depths of despair, they will still be able to find a single thread of hope. Tama unleashes some of her power, and the king asks his wife and son to protect her. Tama charges at Kaibara, but he prepares to use the king's full power. Tama proves to be far too fast for Kaibara to keep up with, and she uses her ultimate technique. It's called the King's Fong, and she uses it to absolutely destroy Kaibara. She collapses into the king's arms, so Annette rushes to heal her. The king gets upset when he realizes that Sensei read the queen's diary, and Sensei wonders if he will be sentenced to death because of it. The king refuses though because he is grateful that Sensei helped his daughter. Sensei doesn't take much credit and says that he just wrote a book. The guys are impressed that Tama was able to use the King's Fong, but Briard could tell that her technique still isn't complete. Just then Kaibara returns in a monstrous form, which shocks the king because he was sure that Tama eliminated him. Kaibara wonders why he was revived, but a memory makes him realize what is going on. He explains that he was one of the 7 heroes that defeated the Dark Lord. Kaibara decides to come clean and reveals that he secretly ate the flesh of the Dark Lord when no one was watching. Everyone is horrified to hear this, and Kaibara says that he can feel the power endlessly welling up from inside him. Kaibara is finally becoming the apex predator that he always wanted to be, and he declares that it's over for everyone. However, just then everyone is shocked as his head gets chopped off by Wald Elia. The psychotic Kaibara is glad to see the Dark Lord's daughter because he wanted to tell her that her father was delicious. He tries to torment her by describing her father's final moments, but Wald Elia just destroys him with a powerful blast. Everyone is stunned by her unbelievable power, but Sensei just says hello to the girl. He says has sad eyes. Waldelia wonders how Sensei is still alive, but he just asks her if she feels better after eliminating one of her father's attackers. Waldelia shocked by his casualness, so she tells them that she will eliminate him next time and she leaves. Sensei realizes that even after eliminating Kaibara and avenging her father's sadness remained in Waldelia's eyes, Sensei is very intrigued by her, so he would like to write the story someday. The next day, people begin rebuilding the town and our group is thanked for saving the capital. It turns out that Tama has decided to stay and support the king. Our group will miss her dearly, but they respect her decision. Back at the castle, the king wonders why Tama is in her room. He says that it's for a lady like princesses and not for tomboys. The king surprisingly tells her that she should go with the travelers because he doesn't need to be protected by someone who likes training. Tama can tell that he's just trying to do what's best for her, and the king commands her to return to the castle when her journey is over. Tama rushes out of the castle and thanks her father. She promises to become a powerful martial artist just like him and says goodbye. Briard mocks the king for not knowing how to talk to his own daughter, but the king is sure that Tama understood how he felt. The king looks at his wife's diary and thinks about his family. Back with our group, Sensei says that unlike Annette, Nier has absolutely no neck for dragging a coffin. Nier tells him to walk in his own 2 legs, but that won't be necessary. Everyone becomes excited when they see their friend, and Tama rejoins the group. The story continues. We see Tama leads the group to the largest tree in Zauberberg. Annette has been here before, but she still finds the tree to be magnificent no matter how many times she sees it. The World Tree is said to be a holy tree that watches over Zauberberg and grants protection to those who visit it. There's a small town called Tonarico nearby where the people live alongside nature. So, Annette suggests that they stop there so they can pray for protection before continuing their journey. However, as they arrive, instead of a quiet town, they find a whole-ass casino in the middle of it. There has never been anything like this before, and people are already losing their life savings and getting their bananas stabbed in the parking lot. Actually, that's pretty realistic. Sensei says it's perfectly normal for people to ruin their lives when given the opportunity, so he doesn't really care about the casino. He's far more concerned about the fact that he's out of pills. He's been managing so far, but without his happy pill, he has a sudden urge to go swing off a tree by his neck. For now, Annette thinks they should go talk to the town mayor to find out what happened to this town. But first they need to stop Sensei from tweaking and eating pebbles. Once they find the mayor, he explains to them that several months ago, some other welders who came to see the World Tree decided to start living here, and they decided to build a casino to keep themselves entertained. But the casino attracted even more unsavory otherworlders, and now the village is nothing more than a den for vices. It's even having effects on the environment as all the leaves of the world they have begun to wither and die. The World Tree has been growing weaker ever since the otherworlders took over, so it must be a sign that the tree spirit is saddened by the events that have transpired. The mayor pleads with them to help restore the village to what it once was, but as the quest box appears, someone speaks up from behind them and says he will help save the World Tree. He says his name is Yamada and he's an otherworlder, so the others are put on edge by his appearance. Yamada says he can understand why they would be wary of other welders, but he assures them that he's different from all the other otherworlders, as he truly wants peace for this world. Tama didn't realize there were otherworlders who are actually nice, and Annette is happy to have all the assistance she can get, but as she calls over to Sensei, so they can start going, and she realizes that he has disappeared. Sensei is wandered into the middle of town. He's feeling better than ever. His back is straight, his mind and body are healthy, so he really needs to find some pills to put him back on the edge of death. As he was walking, he comes across a mysterious cave and gets a feeling this might be interesting, so he heads over and to his surprise, he finds a bunch of idiots smoking Zaza. Sensei is elated to find such a den of unhealthy life choices, so he asked them to please pass him some weed because he really needs it. Just then, a woman comes out of nowhere and touches Sensei's face. She's never seen him around here before, and she doesn't want him falling victim to addiction, so she offers to take him to a place that is much more fun than this. She takes Sensei to a nearby bar and she's amazed by how much she has been drinking. Sensei got here. Sensei tells her that he's trying to drink himself into a coma, and the woman thinks Sensei is a really interesting person. She wonders what he was doing in that cave because that's where people who are addicted to the World Tree's pain-relieving leaves go. Sensei tells her that he lost something very important to him, so the starter having a healthy body and mind is so horrifying that it keeps him up at night. The woman is even more intrigued by Sensei now, so she offers to do something to help him sleep comfortably. It's not what you're thinking. She says she's a dancer, so she offers to perform for Sensei to put his mind at ease. Sensei doesn't think of performance will make him feel better at all, but as the woman begins dancing, he looks like he's actually having fun. Meanwhile, Annette is crying her eyes out over the fact that she lost Sensei, but a few moments later the door opens and Sensei is returned. Although Annette's horror, he's being carried by a strange woman. The mayor recognizes Ishii, asked her what she's doing here since she has been warned to stay away, but Ishii says she just wanted to drop Sensei off and immediately turns to leave after wishing Sensei a good night. Tama asked who that woman was, so the mayor explains that her name is Ishii and she is known as the Witch of Tonariko. The name makes her sound really ominous, so the mayor goes on to explain that when the other worlders began building their casino on the edge of town, there was nothing that villagers could do to stop it even though they wanted to, but Ishii was different. She took the opportunity and sided with the other worlders so she could build a bar next to the casino. She was always a mysterious woman who lived on the edge of town and no one knows anything about her background or origins, but they left her alone since she was pretty much harmless. However, now that she has sided with the other worlders, she makes a fortune selling her wine and dancing for the other worlders, so the townspeople now see her as a traitor which, since Ishii sided with the evil otherworlders, Yamada believes she deserves to receive righteous punishment as well, and the mayor agrees with him. The next day, Sensei is heading back over to the casino part of town and Annette tries to call him back because the attack on the other worlders they have planned would soon be starting. However, Sensei never agreed to be a part of such a dangerous plan, so instead he wants to spend his time Ishii's bar because he finds it comforting. Annette tries to go after him but Yamada stops her and says it's no use because Sensei has already been charmed by Isha. However, he assures Annette that Sensei will come back to her once they have destroyed the casino. Meanwhile, Sensei is having a nice drink with Ishii and he thanked her for her show last night because it helped him get good night's sleep for the first time in a long while. Ishii is glad to hear it, but she warns Sensei that he shouldn't hang around her too much because the people around here see her as a witch, but Sensei doesn't seem to mind because his life couldn't possibly get much worse. In that case, Ishii proposed a toast and hopes that the spirit of the world tree grants protection Sensei's terrible life, but Sensei has never heard of the spirit of the world tree before. Ishii explains that there is a legend that when the spirit of the world tree descends upon the world, the wishes of the weak and sick will be answered. She jokes that Sensei might be saved from the pain in his life that he believes hard enough, but to Sensei Ishii is the one who looks like she wants to be saved. Ishii is shocked by Sensei's words, but before she can give a clear answer, bar doors swing open and the other worlders in charge of the casino barge in. The boss orders Ishii to bring some drinks so she gets up to serve them, and while she's doing that, one of the other welders threatens a bunch of adventurers who blew all their money on gambling and now of the casino ridiculous amount. The adventurers promise to pay the money back to Fair given some time, but the other worlder threatens them with his ability and says they have to get the money by the end of the day even if they have to sell their kidneys to do it. The adventurers went out scared, so the other worlder thinks they got the message, but he's so worried since the casino profits have been down lately. He suggested his boss that it might be a good idea to move it somewhere else because all the suckers around here have already gone broke. However, the boss says there's no need to do something like that since he can just target the people from the village instead. Once he gets them addicted to the joys of a crippling gambling addiction and smoking till their loans give out, they'll become repeat customers until they go broke or die of cancer. Either way, he doesn't care about the consequences. Ishii comes over with their drinks and reminds them that she made a deal with him and paid a lot of protection money just so he would leave the townspeople alone. However, business is slow and the casino boss doesn't care how many people he has to turn into drug addicts as long as he makes profit. He orders his subordinate to go kidnap some of the village people and get them high on shrooms until they become repeat customers. Ishii tries to stop him but she ends up getting thrown into a bar stool. Sensei approaches her and comforts Ishii, telling her that her actions are not that of a witch. She is much more similar to an angel even if the townspeople don't recognize that. Just then, the huge crash is heard outside so all the other worlders went out to figure out what happened, but as they do, they see that the casino has been completely demolished. This is the work of Yamada, so as he sees the evil otherworlders, he prepares to exact his righteous justice upon them. The evil otherworlders are about to attack Yamada, but then Sensei walks up and says he hates flashy people like Yamada. Yamada tells Sensei to stay out of this since he doesn't have time to deal with someone who's charmed by the witch. Sensei actually does stay out of the matter, but it's not because Yamada told him to. Sensei has never once respected anyone who lectured him, and he's definitely not going to respect Yamada's sense of righteousness. Yamada decides to leave Sensei alone for now and deal with the evil otherworlders. So as they charge at him, he draws his sword and hits them with his justice slash which blows them all away. The other welders realize Yamada actually has way more power than they thought, so the boss orders everyone to make a tactical retreat. Now that the other welders have been taken care of, Yamada has to deal with Ishii because the villagers think she's evil as well. So he asked her if she still sizes with the evil other welders. She tells her she's just glad that the town was finally saved. That's good enough for him, so he says she's free to do whatever she wants from now on. The people of the town approach Yamada and cheer for him as their savior, but as soon as they notice Ishii, their cheers become hateful threats directed at her. Yamada tries to defuse the situation and tells everyone that Ishii isn't evil, so there's no need to take action against her if the townspeople still decide to throw stones at her to drive her away. Yamada is shocked by how cruel and unreasonable the people here are, as they continue to hurl abuse at Ishii. Sensei steps in and tells them all that they are worthless scum. How can they treat the person who has been protecting their town all this time like this? She spent all of her time getting close to those other worlders, just so they wouldn't target the town, and if she hadn't done that then the town would have been invaded long ago. If anyone is going to be considered the town's savior then it should be Ishii. Even knowing all this ignorance prevails and the people still say they want to drive Ishii away. Ishii understands that she will never be accepted by the people of this village, so she tells Sensei he doesn't have to advocate for her because she's leaving. As she walks away, she apologizes for all the trouble she caused and the village people celebrate their success in getting rid of her. Yamada can't believe what he's seeing, so he asks Sensei if he knew things would end up like this. Sensei tells him that the line between good and evil is arbitrary and some people live their lives convinced that they are always on the righteous side. He can't say for sure whether Yamada was right to save the village, but he knows for sure that this village willingly kicked out the one who fought hardest to protect it, and he wouldn't want to spend another second around them. Sensei walked out of town along with all the others, and as they leave the village mayor approaches Yamada and says he has a request for him. He tells Yamada that the other worlders were selling the leaves of the world tree as drugs and getting people addicted to it. Yamada is disgusted to hear such a despicable act, but he's even more disgusted when he hears the village chief say he wants to start selling the leaf drugs as well. He saw the other worlders make him a ton of money from it, and he wants a piece of that pie as well, so he asked that Yamada become the town's bodyguard and debt collector. Yamada falls to his knees upon realizing that he wasted his time trying to save people who turned out to be scumbags in the end. As Sensei is being dragged away by the others, they see something that they never thought was possible. The world tree completely withers away along with the village chief plans to become a drug lord. Just then in bright light appears before Sensei and he sees Ishii in her true form. It turns out that she was the spirit of the world tree all along and she thanked him for being the only one who was actually kind to her. She can't stay here much longer, so she leaves Sensei with the parting gift and provides a jar with infinite pills for him. A while later, our group walks through a desert. The sunlight is really getting to Tama, but Sensei hopes that the sun will turn him into a lump of ash. There isn't a single thing in sight, so our group wonders if taking this route to the next temple was the right idea. Nier explains that he is in a newbie to deserts, which explains why he has been fine this entire time. Nier has been traveling for a while, but he's from this area. He considers himself to be an expert in the desert, so he gives a lesson to the others. First, he says that it's too hot for monsters and bandits during the day, so they should be safe. This proves to be very wrong, however, as some bandits appear. These guys are huntsmen and their peoples entered their territory. Nier wonders if these guys are other worlders, but Tama doesn't care, prepares the fight. Annette tells Sensei to retreat into his coffin, but it's really hot in there. A battle breaks out and the girls manage to take out one of the bandits. Toru is the bandit leader and he notices that Sensei has been defeated by the Sun Toru ghosts who attacked him, so Nier prepares to stop him. Toru marks Nier for clearly never drawing a sword before, but Nier declares that he is a valiant warrior. Toru wants Nier to show him what he's got, but he warns that drawing his sword means that he's also prepared to die. Toru plans to attack with the scorpion whose poisoned end Nier's life painfully and under an hour. Toru is shocked when Sensei becomes lively out of nowhere, and Sensei tells the guy to end his life painfully. Toru obliges by punching the scorpion tail straight into Sensei's chest, and he rides his motorcycle to put more poison into him. Unfortunately for him, this backfires, and his scorpion cycle is destroyed. This is because the poison that's already flowing through Sensei's blood was stronger than the scorpion's. Nier wants to protect Sensei when Toru goes to attack him, but he's still too terrified. Just then everyone stops as they hear wolves howl and the bandits run away. Nier is upset with themselves for being too scared to act, so he apologizes to Sensei. Nier considers himself to be a coward, but Sensei points out that no one ever starts out as a hero. They become a hero after being mocked. It's time to keep going, so Annette asks the valiant Nier if he can lead the way. Nier takes them to a nearby orphanage and all the parentless children welcome him. Everyone dives into a feast that Miss Kathy made, and she explains that someone has been donating them food. She would like to thank this person, but they never show themselves. Sensei comes right out and says that the food doesn't taste like anything, and he will like something with synthetic seasoning. Miss Kathy has no idea what that is, but Annette diligently takes notes of Sensei's needs. The kids are quick to point out that Nier said he wouldn't come back until he became a valiant hero. Nier tells that he is in a party of heroes and the kids are amazed. They eagerly want to meet this hero, but they're disappointed to hear that it's Sensei. Sensei then explains that he is no hero, he is just the writer, but the kids are somehow more excited for him to tell them a story. Sensei begins telling them a really depressing story, and Miss Kathy asks them to stop. That night, they hear the wolf howling again, and Miss Kathy explains that a starving wolf has been haunting the area. She warns that if they want to live, then they must stay inside, but we see Sensei is enjoying a late-night stroll. Sensei's pet freaks out, and we see that something just massacred to monsters nearby. Nier is woken up and he takes some damage from Tama, and he is terrified to see his shadow run past the window. Nier bravely goes outside to check, but he's terrified when he bumps into a thief. The guy says that he's not doing anything suspicious, and Nier realizes that he's the one who has been bringing food. This guy enjoys making kids smile, but he doesn't show himself because secretly watching from outside the window is enough for him. Nier calls him a weirdo, but the guy's intentions are pure. Nier explains how his parents died and apparently his father left him this sword. Nier is traveling so that one day he could become a valiant warrior worthy of sword. If he becomes a warrior, then the orphans can be proud of being from the same orphanage as him. The guy tears up after hearing such a noble story, and he assures Nier that his parents are proud of him up in heaven. The guy eagerly listens to more of Nier's stories, and we see that Sensei has been writing in his book. The guys talk until the morning, and Nier invites the stranger inside to have breakfast. The guy declines, however, as just supporting them from the shadows is enough for him. The guy doesn't think he deserves to be in the presence of the kids anyway, but Nier asks the guy if they can do something. Nier has the guy take him to the oasis he found, and they spend the morning gathering more food. Back at the orphanage, Sensei gets away from the annoying kids by retreating him to his coffin. Just then, everyone is shocked when baskets of food appear out of nowhere. That night, Nier is exhausted and Miss Kathy reveals that something terrible has happened. Nier wakes up and she reveals that one of the orphans has been taken. It's the bandits, and Toru demands that the person in charge of the orphanage come up to speak with him. The girls tell everyone to stay inside and they promise to rescue Nate. They rush outside, but Toru is eager to get revenge, so everyone and somebody start fighting. Nier still can't bring themselves to do anything, so the stranger from earlier appears to take Nier to safety. Nier is furious with himself for not being able to move in the face of danger, and he wonders why he's such a coward. Just then the stranger begins to have flashbacks. He becomes very serious and he calmly tells that Nier to hide, while he takes care of everything. He reveals that in his old world he lost something important because of his legs. Nier is shocked as he begins to realize what this guy is. This stranger can't fix the past, but he declares that he now has incredible power. He begins to transform and he declares that he now has the power to slay foul men who would make a kind boy like Nier sad. Nier is stunned as the stranger turned into the wolf, and we see that Sensei is watching. The stranger goes on a rampage and absolutely tears into the bandits. Toru tries to get away, but the stranger is too fast. He thinks about how the people who took something dear to him were just like these terrible bandits. The wolf prepares to end Toru's life, and Sensei watches with anticipation. Nier remembers how the stranger wished he could become like Nier, and Nier begins to cry. He finally finds the bravery within himself, so he draws his sword and stops the rampaging stranger. Nier reminds him that if he eliminates the bandit, then he will never be the kind person he was ever again. The stranger keeps going after the bandit, but Nier's keeps stopping him every step of the way. The furious wolf goes to attack Nier instead now, and everyone is horrified when Nier decides to drop his sword. Nier doesn't move a single inches, and the wolf amazingly stops his attack. The transformation is undone and the guy comes back to his senses. Afterwards, the stranger explains that he was just like Nier. He lost his parents when he was young and lived a lonely life. One day a boy reached out to help him, and it was the first time that the stranger experienced kindness from another person. But unfortunately, the happiness didn't last long. One day the boy was getting beaten up and the stranger was too terrified to help him. He decided to run away instead, and he ended up getting Esekai by Track-kun. He has never been able to forget that day, and he blames his legs for why he had to abandon his friend. Just then Sensei very directly points out that he's just remembering things in a way to make himself feel better. His legs aren't actually to blame for what happened, it was actually his weak heart. Nier begs Sensei to stop because he knows how the stranger feels. Nier always runs and lies because he is a coward as well. Nier promises to do his best next time though, so he won't lose himself. He begs Sensei not to blame the guy and the stranger thanks the kid. He explains that Nier is a lot braver than he thinks because Nier risks his life to stop him when he was going on a rampage. He concedes that he's a coward full of excuses, but Nier really is a valiant warrior. Just then everyone is shocked when Sensei's power activates. Sensei agrees that the guy is a coward, but he's also a lot kinder than most. Despite his cowardice, the man was threatening evildoers by day and defeating monsters in the area by night. Most other worlders were corrupted by their newfound powers, but this guy chose to help others with his power. Sensei credits Nier because he just taught him that it was his own arrogance, depicting the stranger as a failure. Sensei tears a page from his book and the kids finally get to thank the stranger for everything he has done for them. The guy says that he's glad to have met everyone and he's teleported away. Sensei can't be sure where he went, so Nier just thanks the stranger and says goodbye. The stranger reappears in his old world and his friend helps him up. Elsewhere, the mysterious woman from earlier is told about what happened to Kaibara. He failed to conquer Grun, and someone named Sengoku is also struggling in the desert. This is understandable though because dwarven strongholds are known to be impenetrable. The dwarves are also getting the help of someone known as the Wizard of Hurricanes. A look at their war against the dwarves shows that they have a lizard army fighting for them. Isha is helping the dwarves, but she wishes the wolf would take the battle more seriously. Wolf tells her to just relax while he gets drunk, but Isha reminds him that he's the leader of this nation. Wolf says that he's just a priest though, and the dwarves decided to call them their leader on their own. Sengoku, who's also known as the Fallen Angel of Misery, commands his troops to attack, so Isha demands for Wolf to do something. Wolf tells the king of the dwarfs named Doran to lure the enemy somewhere, but Doran rudely refuses to obey his orders. He tells Wolf to just sit back and watch, and he bashes through the enemy armies. Doran decides to do a wolf fast, so he tells the lizards to follow him if they want to take his head. Isha wonders what Wolf is planning, but he just tells her to stand back and he begins the spell. This spell absolutely wipes out a huge chunk of the enemy army, so Sengoku decides to just retreat. Wolf decides not to chase them and he is shocked to see that he caught a random citizen in his attack. Isha says that she knows him and it turned out to be Sensei. That night, the dwarfs celebrate their victory and Doran declares that the 7 fallen angels are nothing to fear. Doran blames the church for the otherworlder problem everyone is having, but Wolf won't let him talk badly about his boss. Wolf credits the dwarves for their incredible effort in battle, but Doran calls him a weak elf while also complimenting his strength. Our group is there as well, and Annette explains that they were lost in the desert before Sensei got caught up in the tornado. Annette is just glad that he was in his coffin when it happened, but Sensei isn't. He wishes that he didn't survive and now he has to find another coffin. Wolf says hello to Annette and Mellows sees the monster of his dreams. Wolf apologizes for the accident, but Sensei just scolds Wolf for his failure to end his life. Sensei is grateful for allowing him to feel a new near-death experience, but Wolf just thinks he's weird. Isha explains that this nation is at war with one of the 7 fallen angels. Tama declares that she just defeated one of them, but Wolf assumes that she is mistaken. He doesn't believe that she's strong enough to defeat one of these enemies, but Tama tells him not to underestimate her team. She explains that Sensei has the ability to teleport otherworlders away, and Wolf explains that the Pope has taken an interest in his ability. Wolf doesn't think they need Sensei though, because all abilities are meaningless in the face of his magic. Tensions rise, but Isha says the wolf has just had too much to drink. Wolf says that they will handle the 7 fallen angels without Sensei's help, so he tells them to just sit tight and watch. This guy is a real jerk, so our group wonders if he's really that much of a big shot. Isha says that he is, and he's known as the Wizard of Storms. Without a doubt, he is one of the strongest wizards in the world. Even the 7 fallen angels are powerless against his magic and intellect. Elsewhere, Sengoku returns to the enemy base and he's mocked for retreating. He plans to join the battle himself next time, so he guarantees a victory. The world just guy says it won't be necessary though, because he is sending someone to the desert who knows the Wizard of Storms very well. This ends up being some little girl, and he has the fallen angel of greed if he is ready. Back at the castle, Sensei can tell that Mellows misses the monster girl and he can feel his pain. He says that one-sided love is the greatest kind of love and he should enjoy his anguish. Mellows snacks on Sensei's skull again, but the little monster is clearly heartbroken. Sensei takes a look at his necklace while remembering his girlfriend, so he tells Mellows that they can look for the monster together. He explains that they're pretty similar because the two of them are just foolish men wandering this world in search of a woman. Sensei thinks they should call the pink monster Femelos, but Mellows clearly hates it. Sensei is oblivious and thinks that he likes it. They eventually find her, much to Mellows' delight, and Sensei notices that her master is pretty popular with the ladies. Sensei says that Wolf is pretty much the opposite of Mellows and they follow the pair. Wolf is discouraged when he knocks on someone's door and gets ignored, so Sensei realizes the wolf is actually just like Mellows. Even a ladies' man like Wolf is pursuing his own beloved. Wolf speaks to the person through the door and explains that the war is still going on, but he promises to come back alive. He goes on to make another promise, but Sensei decides that they shouldn't listen anymore. The next day, the enemy begins to attack again and Tama wants to help in the fight. Doran reminds her that they are guests and declares that he will handle the fallen angel himself. He gives an inspiring speech with Wolf and the battle begins. Wolf helps out the dwarfs from above and he points out that they are crushing the enemy. Just then Isha is horrified as she sees a dragon coming and the dragon attacks the dwarves. It's a legendary dragon that was once under the Dark Lord's command. The terrifying beast is now under the control of the fallen angels, but the confident Wolf is disappointed that this is their ace in the hole. It's not a big deal because he has taken down dozens of dragons before. Just then Doran panics as he realizes that Sengoku isn't the one riding the dragon. Wolf doesn't care though, as he plans to rip them apart with his magic, no matter who they are. He confidently prepares to attack, but he is shocked when he realizes who is riding the dragon. The girl stops the dragon right in front of the wolf and she greets her master. Isha wonders what is wrong with Wolf's as he begins to tremble and he wonders what is going on. He is frozen in disbelief and the girl takes a hold of him. Isha collapses as her energy is drained by the girl's ability and the girl promises to end Isha's life when she is finished with the wolves. She takes off with wolves so Isha chooses the dwarves that they must retreat. They have the meetings so Isha can explain the situation and she wonders who the girl is. The dwarven forces are in shambles and the lizards are closing in, so King Doran is furious because at this rate the castle will fall. Sensei point out to Mellows that Femelos is in tears after losing her master, and he reminds them about what men should do when they see a woman crying. Wolf doesn't console her and just runs off, but this is exactly what Sensei had in mind. Wolf clearly has a complicated past and Sensei is sure that the girl Wolf tried to talk to must know something. Sensei goes to the girl's house and says that he would like to ask some questions about the wolf. The girl opens the door but Sensei is shocked to see that she's a very old woman. This is a huge surprise, but Sensei admits that it makes things interesting. Elsewhere, we see that the girl has brought Wolf to the Dritten Temple. This is a place that they're both familiar with and Wolf calls her Yuriko. Some guards arrive to help Wolf, but Yuriko won't allow them to get in her way. Back at the castle, Isha explains that the girl might be one of Wolf's students. Wolf used to be more passionate than anyone about training other worlders, but one day he suddenly stopped and began drowning himself in alcohol. Isha doesn't know why, but it doesn't matter because they must say Wolf. She wants Dorans to send soldiers to the temple, but he doesn't have soldiers to spare. The girls say that they will take the job instead, but they notice that Sensei is missing. No one has seen him since the night before, and they're all shocked when he arrives with the old woman. Sensei just tells them to continue their conversation, but Annette wonder why Sensei is always finding new women. A while later, we see our group has geared up as they prepared to rescue Wolf. The dwarves are known as expert craftsmen and they did allow our group down with this sweet new equipment. Sensei is disappointed to see that the thing he ordered hasn't arrived yet, but the others can't believe that he needs equipment at all. Doran explains that the item Sensei requests it is too specialized and the craftsmen are confused, so it's taking them a while to finish. Sensei is disappointed in the craftsman but Doran has had enough of him. Nier points out the crossing the desert will be extremely grueling and Toru appears out of nowhere. They don't have time for nonsense, so Tama prepares to destroy him, but Toru says that he has changed his ways. Now he runs a bus company by day and guards the orphanages at night. Tama has no idea what a bus is, so Toru gives a demonstration. He uses his power and a monster nearby, and reveal that he has the ability to turn anything he touches into a vehicle. Everyone boards the bus, but Toru refuses to let Sensei aboard after what he did to his pet the other day. The bus takes off, so the girls beg him to go pick up Sensei, but he refuses. Sensei takes to look at that piece of his precious coffin and declares that it was the only vehicle meant for him. Sensei decided to just wait there, but the old lady begs him to take her to Wolf. This is surprising because she hasn't said a single word up until now, and she declares that she must go to Wolf's side. Sensei is indifferent as always, but Mellows wants to go too. Sensei has had enough of the obsession of those pursuing the ones they love, because they just cast aside reason. They also don't use common sense and don't care about inconveniencing others. However, this makes for a beautiful story, so Sensei agrees to take the old woman to Wolf. And with that, we have come to the end of this part. Stay tuned for next part. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel and activate the notification bell to receive all the latest updates.